What is up, gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode on the channel. As always, so glad to have you lovely folks on here. On today's episode, I wanted to look at and set the precedent for how to create a memorable first impression with anyone that you meet. There's three key categories in doing so. The first one we're going to discuss is how should you dress, how to dress to project the version of yourself that you wish, how to speak in a way, so how do you actually act in a way that has an inviting body language, a comfortable and confident body language, and that you feel at ease and you put others at ease. And then lastly, how do you communicate? What subjects do you speak about with someone that are able to allow you to uncover who they are, to build a deeper and faster connection with anyone, whether it's a business acquaintance, whether it's someone you're getting to know, or whether it is just solidifying relationships. So without further ado, we'll get right into the episode, and we'll start off with number one, which is how to dress. First and foremost, we want to look at how does one dress? And I like to keep it simple. I like to keep it straightforward. Dress in a way that you feel is an authentic representation of yourself. And sure, it may take you a while to understand what your sense of style is, what works well on your body and what doesn't. But it is through sheer trial and error that you figure out what is the correct style for you and what isn't. Why is clothing so effective? Well, look at it this way. The things you wear are one of the core ways that you can actually signify to others something about yourself. Put the same person in a three-piece suit and put the same person in an old, worn-out pair of jeans. The same person with the same mindset, the same ambitions, the same sort of way of living life is going to be able to project a version of themselves that is quite different than the second person. Clothing gives you a unique opportunity to say something without having to say it at all. So take advantage of that. What I look for when it comes to clothing is high quality clothing that is timeless, that is classic, that has a touch of modernism to it, so it feels in touch with the times. And I believe that classic clothing, when done right, when fitted correctly, will always have that modern touch and appeal. They'll feel very relevant to the day and age that we're in. It's not about wearing your dad's oversized suit or just in general wearing something that's out of touch. It's about wearing something that we know speaks and relates to the modern society that we're in. At the same time, wear something that fits you. You need to be able to maintain a positive look to your physique. And ill-fitted clothing, whether it's too tight, whether it's too loose, is going to work against you in this regard. Take a moment, and if you don't have the largest budget for your clothing, well, at least try to pick something that fits you well. Pick something that is not over the top. Go for something that is versatile. Go for a wardrobe of clothing that you can use in a variety of different scenarios. I usually like to recommend a couple of neutral color bottoms, something like a black, a charcoal, a navy, a beige, a brown. Those colors do really well and allow you to use these bottoms as a base and split them across a variety of different types of tops. When it comes to tops, you can have a little bit more fun, but going for nicely fitted, sleek t-shirts with minimal branding on it is a great option. A nice pair of, or a nice button down that is well fitted as well. Very minimalistic, nothing over the top also works. Also, if you have some polo shirts, those are also great options. Keep your wardrobe quite simple. When it comes to footwear, you can have 2 or 3 pairs that can give you the variety of different footwear types that you'll need. You can pick something that is a nice dress shoe, maybe an Oxford. And then when it comes to a more casual but still dressy shoe, you can go for a moccasin or you can go for a loafer. And then when it comes to a day-to-day trainer, go for something like a Nike Air Max or a Nike Free Runner. That is also a great option. I like to keep it simple, and of course you need to experiment with the style that you want. Second, when it comes to our body language, the way that you interact with people and how your body is present in that moment is going to put others at ease, or is going to keep them on edge. So think about the person that has a very closed off body language. This tells the other person, don't talk to me. It tells them that I am not open for a conversation. I'm not open to receive anything from you. When you meet people for the first time, understand that anxieties are high on both ends. Not only are you anxious to meet this person, but they're also anxious to meet you. You need to be able to put them at ease, and you do this through your body language. You do this through what is not being said. A confident smile that is not exaggerated over the top can immediately put people at ease. Your facial tension, if you're too tense on the face, if you're overly frowning, or if you're overly Google-eyed, those extremes also will signify to the other person that there's something wrong here. So I like to maintain a very neutral approach, but that also feels warm and inviting. An open body language, shoulders rolled back, chest a little bit out, and a bit more of an exposed body language with my palms exposed and a slightly wider stance. This stance projects a confidence, it projects a trustworthiness, and also it is a way of making the other person feel invited. If you're standing, make sure to angle yourself towards the person, not away, and make sure to always maintain a very consistent and very respectable level of eye contact and be able to truly be engaged in what the person in front of you is saying. Try to avoid overly fidgeting, try to avoid looking around, blinking too much, or just being distracted. All in all, the last thing is going to be conversation. Setting a great first impression is going to come down to as well the words you've said. Once you've worn what you need to wear, once you've appeared the way that you want to appear, now it's time to speak. It's time to make a connection. There's a very clear way to create a connection with someone, and this is to actually care about what is being said by the person in front of you, to listen. So it's not more about what is being said, but also about how you listen and how you interpret the things that are being said. In order for there to be something to listen to, you need to ask the right questions. I always like to go for certain core question types that allow me to get a good idea of someone and questions that are not too heavy to start with. Of course, you want to know about the person's background, what do they do, you want to know a little bit about their family, where they've lived, what their hobbies are, what their passions. Stick to surface level items in the beginning to build up some level of rapport. As you start to get deeper and deeper into the conversation, and if the situation calls for it, then you can start to ask leading questions that lead the conversation into more meaningful and more present sorts of conversations. These can be things like, oh, you've lived in this city. What is it like living in a city that is so busy? Do you often get drawn away, or do you often find it very difficult to maintain a work-life balance? From there, you start to get an idea of the person's personality. You get an idea of their ambitions, their goals, and by asking these leading questions, it opens the door into other areas. It's very important as well, when you are receiving a response to these questions, to actively listen. You need to be listening in a way that shows your presence, maintain eye contact, avoid fidgeting, avoid looking away, and also when you're bouncing off of that initial response, you need to be able to show clearly that you've listened and that you relay that back to them. Typically, I like to relay that back by actively saying, oh, that was really cool. Like, I appreciate how you did X, Y, Z. What did you think about this? So I take that response and I use it to lead into the next step. This is a way for you to not only lead a conversation in a way that's beneficial for both parties, it avoids any awkward interruptions because you always have something to work off of and you've planned your next 2-3 steps. It doesn't mean that you've sat down and you've written down the next 2-3 steps, but you almost have a plan or a blueprint for how to continue a conversation so that it never dulls or it never lulls into an awkward phase or an awkward pause. By doing this and by giving your all, by truly giving your energy to the situation and projecting the best possible version of yourself, you're going to leave any meeting, whether it's a meeting, whether it's a date, whether it's a time with friends, with the best possible impression being made of you. And this is a skill that you gain through trial and error, through repetition, by putting yourself out there, by putting yourself in uncomfortable scenarios with people that you haven't met before, and scenarios and situations that you have never been exposed to before. But believe me, knowing how to set a great impression with people is a extremely beneficial and very, very valuable lesson that you must learn. It's a way of you allowing yourself to go through the world and to do the things that you need to do to achieve the outcomes you wish to achieve and to meet the people that are going to be able to get you there. At the end of the day, most, if not all of the connections that you make are potential partnerships with people that you can use to further both of your paths, both of your journeys, and to work towards a common goal. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this episode. Hopefully you'll be able to walk away with some actionable steps to take from it. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please consider smashing a massive thumbs up. It really does help us out. And until next week, stay awesome.